Hello, good morning, good afternoon to our IMA webinar for medical application with focus on end products. We have for you scheduled an interesting program with three presenters and three topics. First of all, some information about the IMA as well. For those who don't know, the IMA is an international, and IMA stands for International Magnesium Association. And the IMA have a membership consisting of practically the whole value chain of magnesium, coming from primary production to alloying, recycling, but also the universities, machinery, equipment producers, research institutes as well. And we are doing such educational IMA webinars since now, I think 3 years now. And I'm very glad that we were able to put off this today's webinar. My name is Martin Tauber. I'm the IMA representative for Europe. And we also, I see that Ken White came online. So Ken, hello.
Hello, sorry.
I can give you the mic in a minute. Okay. Just to make some announcement of the IMA as well. I think you have heard the last couple of weeks that magnesium was very prominent in the news, and that's because of a supply crisis from China. And the IMA was very busy and tried to provide help and support for the membership, but also for the whole industry. So if you have any interest and questions about that, please visit the IMA website under the news. So we have, for instance, issued a joint statement with the Chinese Magnesium Association, but also teamed up with the European Aluminium Association and some other associations and industry representatives in Europe to really alarm the authorities and the European Commission about the situation in magnesium. Today's topic is a relatively young niche industry for us, but I think it's a very interesting and very an industry with very large growth prospects. And also I would like to announce that the IMA is launching a new award, because we're running an award system since many years in our yearly conference, and as of next year we will also hand out the technology award. So I think medical applications is certainly one to count on this. So without that, I would like to hand over the word to Ken White. Ken is the chairman of the European Committee, and say a few words in the name of IMA as well.
Okay, am I on screen or whatever?
Yeah. Yes.
Thank you. Well, I'd just like to thank everyone for joining us today. Particularly thank you for the people who are going to give the presentations. I think it is an important development for us. On these webinars, I'm always used to introducing topics that are industry related, particularly. This one is really gives us a good feeling because it's related to health and people's well-being. So without further ado, I'd like to say welcome again and hand over back to the presenters to get on with the webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Some housekeeping. We'll have three presentations. We have foreseen 1.5 hours for that. So I think there's enough time for a little Q&A after each session. And you can use the Q&A function in the Zoom software. And it's up to the presenter if there is a question which really is interesting to answer during the presentation, please do so. and if not, you can also answer them in the chat, or you answer them after the presentation as well. And if we have time, we're going to do a summary Q&A at the end of the webinar. So we'll have 3 presentations. The presenting companies, so to say, is IMA member company Helmholtz Zentrum Herreon will start with talking about magnesium more than a load-bearing implant. Then we'll have Syntellix talking about from magnesium to nothing, the success story of a bioabsorbable magnesium implant for orthopedic surgery. And third presentation will be from medical magnesium, and the title is Magnesium Technology Revolutionizing Orthopedic Care. So we'll start with the first presentation. I would invite Björn Wiese for this presentation. Björn works at the Helmholtz Herreon Institute, is there a researcher busy with magnesium alloys and processes for reabsorbable and biodegradable implants and functional magnesium materials. Björn has a Master of Engineering and is also Doctor of Engineering, and he has earned his PhD with summa cum laude from Claustral University. So please, Björn, for your presentation. Thank you. Your microphone is still muted. Yeah.
Sorry. So hello again. Thank you for the nice introduction. My name is Björn Wiese, and today I will introduce a bit magnesium that is more than a load-bearing implant, and therefore I will just briefly summarize as the beginning a bit the properties and why we are interested in magnesium as such a biodegradable implant material. What makes this quite unique, the magnesium, it's one of the 3 properties. I will start with the physical properties. Magnesium has a density what is quite close to the bone. So it's not as heavy implant with the same size compared to permanent implants made of steel or nitinol or something like this. In the same time, as it has a higher strength and ductility compared to the main competitors in this field, the polymers like polylactic acid, and it has a Young's modulus or modulus of elasticity, what is quite close to the bone. So it's still double as high compared to very stiff bone, but compared to titanium or steel, it's one of the closest what you can get with metals. And also important for medical applications, non-magnetic. That means you can use MRI techniques to use it as a standard imaging technique when a patient has such an implant in the body. In the same time, it starts to degrade. It's a non-noble metal. That means for engineering application and structural application, it's not wanted, but for medical application, it's a nice benefit of the material. So it will degrade with time and aqueous solution. The corrosion products can be dissolved in aqueous solution, and it will influence the environment of the implant around it by releasing ions, magnesium, or from alloying elements. And it will change, for example, the environment that is more basic compared to polymers, where it's more acidic. At the final stage, we're having the biological side. And if something gets released in the body, first, we are maybe a bit scared about it. It can have negative effects on the biological side, but in the case of magnesium, it's a quite essential element in our body. Approximately 25 grams of it are in our body, and most of it, 65%, are stored in the bone. It's so important that it's involved in more than 100 enzymatic reactions, so it's quite important in different states of healing. For example, like if we take a look, at the scheme from the early start of implantation to the final remodeling of a bone, for example. And in this case, it's already promoting somehow the bone formation. To understand what could be a not load-bearing implant and what is on the market, I will just briefly introduce what is there already, what can be bought, what is on the market for medical applications already now. First, if we look at this young guy here with a kid on the arm, there's quite stressed, and if you're getting older, you get more and more the risk of narrowing of the arteries in your heart, or close to your heart. That means you have to treat it. In the best case, in the medical investigation, or the doctor or the medical doctor will find out, yes, your flow through this arteria get reduced by some infection, some narrowing in these veins or arteries, and you have to remove it. And if you remove this kind of stuff, you need some solution to keep it open, and therefore cardiovascular stents are used. And compared to permanent stents causing roughly 30%, again, a re-narrowing, so they're changing the flow in the vessel a bit, and this causes a new inflammation, and then in the worst case, you get a stroke, or you will see it by continuous look after some years to check how is the status of your vessels. And the problem is this permanent stent will be integrated fully in the wall of this vessel, and it's impossible to remove it. And therefore, it's nice to have magnesium, what supports in the beginning really the healing, to maintain the mechanical properties of the vein, so it's open until the healing process is gone. It can start, or during this, it can start to disappear in the body. Other application, I think Syntellix will tell a bit more about this, is hallux valgus, the first application, so here in the foot, is a misalignment of the bone, or also quite important if you're thinking on fractures from an accident, especially for young kids, they are still growing. Therefore, you need some fracture is there, and you have to fix it after you correct the position of the bone again. And during the healing, and especially in the beginning, it's quite important that there is no inflammation occurs, and there is a bigger risk of getting such inflammation by polylactic acid implants, and they are not so good to sterilize, and they will change a bit the environment in a way that's not as wanted, like in the case of metals, in our case for magnesium. So it makes an acidic environment compared to magnesium, would cause more basic environment, and this is better for, especially for bone cells. They like it more than the other way around. It has a higher strength and ductility, what I already mentioned, and it's better tolerant for, tolerance in the body because of this environment change. At the same time, it stimulates the growth of new bones at such a fracture site, what is improving the healing during the degradation, and as well as degrade. With time, it's quite important for kids. They are still growing, so with the permanent implants there, it will can block or hinder the bone growth a bit. And for adult people, like in this case, for me, it would be not so necessary to remove it, but it would be also nice if it disappear with time, but quite important it's for young people. But these are it is a load-bearing implant. They have to have a specific strength, and this is one of the important keys of this kind of implants. But there are some other problems in the medical field where you can also use magnesium or implants as not load-bearing implants. For example, I choose two examples out of our research at the moment. One is osteoarthritis. Just to introduce this kind of problem there, we have osteoarthritis as a degenerative joint disease. And what does it mean? If we look at here at one bone or one joint side of a healthy bone, we're having a layer structure out of cartilage, calcified cartilage, subconal bone plate, and trabecular bone. This is the spongy part in the center of the bone. And when the osteoarthritis starts, we get degeneration of the cartilage. There are some pits, and it's not anymore flat like it should be. And also this plate gets thinner with time until the final stage. There, the amount of defects increase up to this voids inside this subconal bone plate and also the trabecular bone. And this is what causing patients the problem, not anymore flat. It's the change in the mechanical properties of the whole joint system. So if now load came on it, it will fracture somehow in this trabecular bone, and there are some nerves what can feel there is a pain because there's an overload. And this is what the patients are feeling, and what makes the problem in the end. The risk factors for such kind of problem is overweight and long life. So the modern society will have it more and more in the future. 80% of the patients are older than 75 years. And what I already mentioned is every time the combination out of the cartilage, what gets not will degrade with time, the thinner and worse bone, subconal bone plate, and this leads to the pain of the patient. Treatments are like a therapy, debridement, so making this flat again, and drilling and microfracturing. It sounds a bit weird to drill holes in a bone what has already not as good mechanical properties, but the idea is quite simple. It triggers the reformation and reorganization of the bone, and the aim is to make the bone more stronger again, and then to avoid this pain problem. Finally, if nothing helps, the final treatment or therapy is the replacement by a prothesis by this joint, but they are also quite limited in lifetime. So if you're having a young patient, it means you have to remove it twice, and this is not something what you want. You want to have this operation at a latest time point in the life of a patient. In the same time, treatments, we start the idea to apply for a project, and we started together with the Medical School of Hanover and the DFG project, and it got granted on the treatment of degenerative cartilage lesion using subconal implanted osteoproliferated magnesium beads, small pieces of magnesium. The first result what we published quite recently, some weeks ago, it goes online, is on the osteoporotic model of a rapid. And we're implanting inside this osteoporotic knee with the help of a drilled hole, some magnesium cylinders. And the idea is to compare just the drilled to the group with the implanted magnesium cylinders and see the effect later on the cartilage and the bone quality. The first findings are quite nice because we're seeing already that the bone volume of the rapids in the femur and tibia increase, which are the red regions, for volume and the trabecular thickness from the week 1 to the week 8 after the operation. Compared to the blue ones, where just the drilled group, there's more or less not such a significant improvement, especially in the femur. But what we can see is that we increase the bone volume, but the density of the bone is nearly constant over time. So the quality of the bone is constant, but the volume increased. In the same time, we're getting a more stable trabecular thickness. That means it could prevent future osteoarthritis progressions. In the same time, this is something what happens quite close to the implantation site on the osteoporotic knee of this rabbit, but we're seeing also some effect on the non-operated knee. That means the magnesium ion what got released seems to be having also impact on the cartilage in our case, on the non-operated knee of our rabbits. What does it mean? Here's the score. It's the score for the quality of the cartilage. And if the number is small, it means it has a better quality of the cartilage. And we see that the magnesium in the right knee will improve the quality of the cartilage in the non-operated knee. And that means there's some effect. It might be, but we are not sure up to now, that is a positive effect of magnesium on the pain reception of these rapids, and it makes it better to move, and in the long run it improves the quality of this cartilage in this knee. The implant looks like this. It's a very tiny kind of cylinders made out of a wire with a diameter of 0.5 millimeter, produced here in our center, and cut it to pieces with a length of 1 millimeter, and they get implanted in this rapid knees. On the other side, we started, okay, there are some publications saying, yeah, we can treat with different alloying elements or even magnesium somehow cancer. Cancer, some facts to it, it's unresectable solid tumors among the most main cause of cancer patient deaths. So it means they are a quite big problem if you're not finding it early enough. And among the cancers, osteosarcoma, the cancer of the bone, is among the most common cancer in young patients. So their solution for this would be quite nice. The problem with surgeries, to remove it, you have every time the risk that some cancer cells are staying there or get released in the environment of the body and can start to grow somewhere else. So somehow we have to tackle this, this cancer, and therapies are on the market as systemic chemotherapy, surgery, non-specific cytotoxic agents, or radiography. And in our center, with another center together, we start idea to apply for a joint research group between the Helmholtz Association and the Russian Science Fund. And there we get some finance support for this kind of project for material based on magnesium alloys for bioabsorbable implant with anti-tumor activity, together with the National Institute of Science and Technology at Mises in Russia, in Moscow, and the Russian Science Center also in Moscow, and our center. The first work what was published out of it was on how to improve or change the properties, the mechanical, the microstructure, and the corrosion properties of as extruded magnesium with 2 and 4 weight% silver. And the main impact for the treatment of cancer is now we see an increased corrosion rate if we doing this ECAP process on our as extruded material. And if you look at the cell variability, so how much cells living after 4 and 24 hours, and when they are seated on magnesium 2 silver as extruded or ECAPed, or 4 silver the same as extruded or ECAPed material, we see that the quantity of the cancer cells get reduced significantly after 24 hours and a bit already after just 4 hours of immersion. And that means we can somehow treat the pure cancer cell in such an in vitro setup, what we used by just the corrosion. What is now, for me, at the first glance was a surprise, is with a higher corrosion rate, I expect a higher death of cancer cells, but it's not true. So it must be somehow adjust the corrosion rate, but up to now, we don't know what is necessary for good treatment of cancer. But if it attacks cancer cell, then the next question will be, okay, what will be the impact in the end on healthy cells? So one PhD student, Philip Globig, starts to establish in our lab some co-culture model out of fibroblast and osteosarcoma, the cancer cells for bone cancer, and seeded different kinds of cultures with 10,000 and 50,000 cells to see the effect of the population on this implant, seeding this on titanium as a control when it's not degrading with time, and pure magnesium and magnesium with 6 weight% of silver. And what he find out is the control seems to be not good. So the amount of cancer cell increase with time after 1, 3, and 7 days, independent of the amount of cells what he seeded on it. But the degradation products somehow of magnesium and this magnesium silver alloys, showing that the numbers, the green bars getting smaller with time, the numbers of sarcoma cells get reduced in relation to the healthy fibroblast cells. And this is independent of the alloy, if it's pure or magnesium 6 silver. And that means there is some degradable magnesium and magnesium 6 silver favors the growth of healthy cells over the osteosarcoma cells. So it's somehow that what we want to see. And in this setup, there is more or less no impact of the alloys on the corrosion rate. So the main effect here is coming from the release of magnesium ions. And if you take now an outlook at some implants for the future stuff and application, I think long-term drug delivery would be something, for example, for bone remodeling or regeneration or therapy of cancer or brain diseases by alloying elements, what is other project what is running in our center at the moment. And the geometry or the shape of the implants could be quite different. For example, the small cylinders, squares or plates, thin foils or sheet would get implanted, or arrows or even wires could be used for it. And just the size and the numbers can can change the release rate of magnesium ions into it. But I think it's just these 3 points, some ideas what we tackled already. But there are other biological processes that are somehow involved by magnesium. So this will be something in the future. And yeah, here I want to stop, and it's time for some question if some question arises. So I don't see any question and answers.
Thank you very much, Björn. Yeah, I just, if you have any questions, please type in the question in the Q&A session. We can also allow you to for raising questions with the microphone, but there are no questions here. But if you have any question and you think about that, you can still add them. I would like to.
Martin, maybe one question.
Yes, of course.
So, Björn, thank you very much for the very interesting talk. I got one question around the relative number of cells of the cancer cells against the healthy cells. Mm-hmm. It was shown the relative number. Could you also count the absolute number of?
Yes, but I don't have it in mind.
Cells?
So it's
okay.
But if you want, I can send you the paper. So
okay, that'd be great. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. There's there are two questions. Björn, can you look into the question and answer box? Maybe I read out this question from Xisheng. Great talk, interesting on magnesium implants healing on cancers. It is reported that H2 has healing impact on cancer. Do you think that results you got is because of the H2 generated?
It could be, but we can't see it in our experiment in the setup what we used in this case, because it's an open setup, the hydrogen goes up. So I believe it's mainly coming from the release of magnesium ions or ions from the alloy, and not from hydrogen. But I know there's some effect of this, but in this setup what we're choosing, it's not the hydrogen.
Then we have a question from an anonymous attendant. Did you examine long-term effects on increased concentration of magnesium in the body?
And not in the body, but if you look in some papers and some publication, according to this, the magnesium get quite good handled and excreted by the urine in the end. So there should be no risk of it. And we can, if we think about some implants, 20 grams is a huge implant. if we really want to overcome this amount of magnesium in the body.
Okay, we'll have a third question, conclude the question and answer session then. Do you think that there will be a market for anti-cancer devices, since these tumors are extremely rare and most of them get resected?
Yeah, the idea is just if you have really big cancer, so that bigger volume infected, you need some support. And if you're using, for example, a bigger magnesium implant to support the bone after resection, it would be nice if magnesium released extra some kind of drug delivery over the healing time to support that there is no cancer. What is there? Maybe somebody don't see it somewhere else. So it supports from a medical side and also the rehealing and the healing process. So it's some dual use, I think, in the future.
Okay.
But I'm a material science, so.
Thank you, Björn. I would like you to stay on if we have some time for a concluding Q&A. Thanks again for the talk. And I would like to hand over to our second speaker, Dr. Jan-Martin Seitz from Syntellix. Jan-Martin studied mechanical engineering in economics and in the University of Hanover. He has a PhD based on research within Collaborative Research Center Biomedical Technology from Institute from that is LUH. I think it's it's Leibniz, I think. Then he has been abroad, visiting researcher in Auckland in New Zealand, a postdoctoral researcher at the Michigan University in the US. Currently he held the position as Chief Technical Officer, CTO for Syntellix in Germany, and he's on the board of Syntellix in Asia. He's also a consultant at the European Space Agency, has more than 70 relevant publications for the field of biodegradable magnesium applications, hold 8 patents in that field, and has also earned the various prizes in that field as well. So I'm very proud to hand over to Jan-Martin, giving the speech about from magnesium to nothing, the success story of a bioabsorbable magnesium implant for orthopedic surgery.
So thank you very much, Martin, for the very kind introduction. And also a very warm welcome to the audience of this webinar from my side. With the following presentation, From Magnesium to Nothing, I would like to provide you a brief summary of the success story of a biodegradable implant for orthopedic surgery. I would like to start this presentation with providing you some magnesium-related quotes. Using magnesium on an industrial scale, it corrodes in aqueous environments. Magnesium's rapid corrosion is its most significant drawback, and it dramatically impeded magnesium's growth and expansion into other applications. Issues such as corrosion severely restrict the wider insertion of magnesium alloys. A serious limitation for the widespread use of several magnesium alloys is their susceptibility to general and localized pitting corrosion. As most of you know, in nearly all relevant industrial fields, magnesium's corrosion properties are described as huge disadvantage, as can be seen by just this summary of the provided citations. But this is the past, as magnesium's corrosion properties have been proven extremely useful in the medical field. Combining of such corrosion properties with adequate mechanical strength properties makes a new generation of implantable material with superior characteristics. Already over 100 years ago, the great potential of magnesium's corrosion properties for use in various medical applications was identified. Peyer, Lambert, Andrews, and Selig already used very early prototypes of magnesium implants, such as sutures, plates, intramedullary nails, clips, and screws in exemplary cases in humans between 1892 and 1924, but were confronted with adverse material properties such as brittleness or insufficient strength, or even inadequate degradation properties in vivo. Medical applications were rarely researched following this early hype. Only in the new millennium, researchers picked the idea of magnesium-based implants up again, and with improved manufacturing routes and processes and interdisciplinary research structures, the base was made for the first orthopedic magnesium implant with a CE approval, a compression screw made of Syntellix AG's Magnesium alloy. A few facts about Syntellix AG as of its today's situation. The company was founded in 2008 and has approximately 80 employees worldwide. In recent years, various subsidiaries were either founded or acquired in order to optimally support global market penetration with the new technology. MSE as a raw material supplier in Germany and Syntellix Asia in Singapore as sales hub and key CNC turning center mark the recent production extension highlights. Syntellix obtained approvals for its implants in 71 countries and has sold more than 75,000 magnesium-based implants already. The current product lineup consists of 5 different base devices in various sizes, which I'll briefly introduce on the next slide. Syntellix follows a clear patient-first strategy, which will allow access to the great benefits of magnesium-based implants to a broad range of people. This way, patients can benefit from reduced infection risk, avoidance of loss in bone density due to stress shielding effects, and in general from the lapse of a second surgery for removal, just to name a few of the numerous advantages. Syntellix product range grew over the years. The initial and thus trailblazing product was a compression screw that received a size extension after its initial success. In 2018, Syntellix, again, in its role as innovation leader, introduced a ceramized magnesium oxide surface-covered variant of the compression screw to the market. Over the years, pins, cortical bone screws, arthrodesis implants, and just recently interference screws made of Syntellix Magnesium alloy were introduced to the market following the request for more magnesium-based implants from surgeons worldwide. It has been a long and sometimes even hard way until the company's structure and its product portfolio as we know it today. In its early years, the company heavily focused on the material and process development with its partner, the MSE, a magnesium technology research hub in Germany. After various mechanical, biology, and corrosion studies, animal trials, and the successful completion of a human clinical trial, the first product could be introduced to the market outside a study in 2013. Subsequently, devices were sold in Europe in 2014 and outside of Europe, initially in Singapore, in 2015. After a successful size extension of the CS in 2015, magnesium pins were introduced in 2016. Syntellix opened its first subsidiary in Singapore in 2017 and received CE approval for its cortical bone screw in the same year. Further devices, the Syntellix Starfuse and arthrodesis implant, and surface-modified implants, the CSC 4.8 and interference screws, were CE approved in 2019 and 2020. Over the years, Syntellix AG received great support from various sources, institutional investors, regulatory approval companies, and its partners and suppliers, just to name a few. Growth of the Singapore was open. In 2021, further countries approved the use of Magnesium implants, making it a total of 71 countries in which Magnesium products could be used in surgeries as of today. With this, a total of approximately 3.8 billion people could benefit from magnesium-based implants. The current regulatory coverage of Magnesium products can be seen on this map. Syntellix is continuously working with approval agencies worldwide to even extend the number of 71 approvals. Current regulatory activities target approvals in key markets like China and the US. Syntellix's success with biodegradable magnesium-based implants bases on its innovative material technology. The material, which Syntellix calls Magnesium, that provides high mechanical strength until fracture healing, but will biodegrade afterwards, bases on a non-allergenic magnesium alloy, Mg, YrEZr, or We43 following ASTM, with a magnesium content greater than 93% by weight. The alloying elements, zirconium, neodymium, and yttrium, in combination with a powder metallurgical process route, provide high stability due to a very fine-grained microstructure with an average grain size smaller than 5 microns. The Magnesium alloy is manufactured by means of the following processes. The composition is prepared in a casting process by adding the required amounts of alloying elements to the Mg melt. Subsequently, atomization is carried out in order to achieve small powder particles, which are then pre-compacted in a cold isostatic pressing process. Extrusion will then result in the final raw material rods, which possess a very fine-grained microstructure. These rods will then be used in a CNC turning process to manufacture the final one-of-its-kind devices. The very fine-grained microstructure can be seen in this image. Magnesium provides outstanding mechanical properties: a yield strength greater than 260 megapascals, a tensile strength greater than 290 megapascals, and an elongation to failure greater than 8%. The material degrades in a uniform manner, which results in a hydrogen release smaller or equal to 0.05 milliliters per hour per square centimeter. Adequate biocompatibility aspects mark the third key requirement besides corrosion and mechanical properties for implants made of whatever materials. Magnesium has been studied in depth, following all relevant chapters of standard ISO 10993, the key biocompatibility standard. Independent experts evaluated results from such tests together with the outcomes of various animal trials and clinical trials, and attest the material and the implants manufactured thereof excellent biocompatibility properties. With animal trials, it could be impressively shown that magnesium-based implants actually turn into bone. While a few days post-surgery, the implant structure did not change significantly, as can be seen in a cross-section of a histology in the first image. The implant biodegrades and is penetrated by bone cells in a follow-up period of up to 1 year in this example. Within the magnification of the histological image, one can clearly see the bone cells penetrate the former implant site, actually turning the device into new bone. You can actually see the magnesium hydroxide segment that remained after corrosion of the implant's wall is penetrated by such bone cells. Knowing this, we actually have to rename this presentation, as magnesium will not turn into nothing, but into bone. Also, within the X-ray images of clinical trials in humans, it can be impressively seen how this device slowly turns into bone-like structures. The shown X-rays remain from a follow-up of a patient that received a hallux valgus correction with 2 Magnesium implants. Follow-up tracking shows healing of the osteotomy site and signs of degradation and bone remodeling at the treated site. Comparing the magnesium-treated situation with a treatment in which non-degradable metal implants were used, the key benefit of this new technology becomes clear. A removal surgery can simply be avoided. I bravely anticipate at this point that most of you would tend to be treated with the biodegradable option if required. Magnesium implants can already be utilized for manifold medical indications. Syntellix's current portfolio covers indications from shoulder to toe. With data from the clinical trials conducted before the initial CE approval of the compression screw and before the further approvals of new devices, and considering data from follow-up studies and vigilance data, Syntellix has created an enormous pool of human clinical performance data with their products. Currently, more than 40 scientific publications that confirm the clinical safety and efficacy of Magnesium's devices are available. These publications cover 457 patients, of which 92 are children. Overall field data on the basis of 50K implanted devices with follow-up periods of up to 10 years are available. Careful field tracking impressively shows safety of this new technology. With more than 75K sold devices and 1,904 feedbacks on implant performance, only 144 adverse events were reported. Out of these 144 adverse events, only 6 serious adverse events could be determined, from which 0 cases were attributed to the product itself. The very low rate of adverse events and serious adverse events, two standardized measures to track the medical device safety based on field data, confirms that Magnesium's implants can be safely used. The success of Syntellix's new material technology is also confirmed by acting of potential competitors in the medical field. You only try to copy the successful stuff when you are not able to come up with own innovations. This is my point of view. With companies and startups that emerge in the MG implant field, we often see copy attempts. Syntellix's product range is evidently a role model for copycats. Copycat companies may also try to copy Syntellix's business model. The alloying system for implant development will probably also be a target for copycats. And even the introduced surface modification technology may become subject to attempts to be copied. We could feel really honored when seeing that people out there are trying to copy us, but we are not copyable. We are unique. However, for such companies, this way seems to be advantageous in terms of getting to the market real quick. But this strategy may put doctors and patients at risk, as own performance data may not be available. Copy attempts in the medical field are especially extremely risky because you simply can't copy field experience and clinical data which ensure patient safety. On a personal note, I'm still a little shocked when seeing the race to a CE approval with this new technology by others. It puzzles me when seeing that companies do not sell their devices on the market, although CE approval was granted years ago. Is it because of a faulty business model? Or is it because these companies do not trust in the device performance anymore? Let's hope for the first, as the second would be a real threat to those that deserve this technology, the patients. In my opinion, it must always be patient first, business second, and no tricking. Allow me to summarize the key performance details of Magnesium's implants. There are 10 years of clinical experience with more than 50K implants in patients. Besides multiple successful iterations of biocompatibility tests, according to all chapters of ISO 10993 and various variable animal trial results, and reliable. As I started this presentation with quotes, I'd also like to close it the same way. Here's some quotes from Magnesium's users. A breakthrough for children and adolescents due to elimination of implant removal necessity. These implants are a real breakthrough. These screws are so convincing that by now I exclusively use them only. They have prevailed as standard implants. There's nothing better than Magnesium. This is the future as we change the magnesium corrosion paradigm.
Thank you, Jan Martin. Very interesting presentation, very impressive. All the approval processes on a global scale, but also the side of to alert on the copycats, which we were not aware of course. So that's a very interesting angle to that as well. I just think of the next ski season, which is around the corner, that I'm gonna get the right implants when something happens.
We can make sure you get the right implant, of course.
Hopefully not. Okay. Right. Are there any questions at this stage? Again, you can use the chat or you can use the Q&A. No, so far I don't see any. But this, Martin, the time to market. I mean, you showed the slide in the different countries. So since when you are, and what, let's say, what is the usual time frame for an approval for a new product?
Well, it really depends on the product. So if you have some basic results and data available already, it can be a little quicker. But due to the new medical device regulation, it's usually you have to go through a clinical trial, which is already 3 years. Then you have the developmental process, depending on the complexity of the products, could be up to 4 years. So in total, if you do it right and you find the correct data, goes up to like 7-8 years when you're lucky.
Right. Okay. And from it's because IMA is covering all the value chain. I mean, thinking about at the beginning, you need some pure magnesium. Do you have a special spec on the pure magnesium? Because we saw at one picture, we saw kind of a chipped ingot or something, or is it commonly available, the spec you need?
Sorry, maybe you can rephrase that question.
I say we are thinking, let's say, magnesium people in our industry think about a magnesium ingot, which is normally like 8 kilos or 12 kilos. Are you buying this, or are you buying already cutted pieces? And if you buy that, are the specification for this ingot or piece of an ingot, are these easy available, or do you need special specifications from suppliers?
So it's like as mentioned, we acquired the MSE, which is our raw material supplier, and they basically buy all the base materials, pure magnesium, and the other ingredients, alloying elements. Yeah, and there's a very clear mixture that is required. So the overall composition is very well defined. And this is also something you need in the medical field in order to ensure highest quality for the patients. Okay,
good. Thank you. We have 2 questions in the chat. How do you distinguish from copycats and healthy competition? Is competition not useful for maintaining innovation and quality?
Competition is super useful. It's always also a motivation to get better. Otherwise, you would start sleeping or something. But especially for this very, I would call it fragile technology still, it's very new. It's important that the competition doesn't make mistakes. It's not going to the market too fast, does not use faulty results, because it could still put this technology at risk. And this is why I also involved like 2 slides in this presentation. It's super important that you do your homework before you go to the market. This is the order it has to be, and always have in mind patient first. This must be the goal. It's not about the business, it's about the patients.
But the decision maker who is using what is the surgeon then, normally?
Last but not least, the surgeon is the one who makes the decision what kind of implant is used. We can only provide him information about all the benefits magnesium implants come with, but in the end, the surgeon has the last word.
Okay. We have a second question in the chat asking about dental implants and an option for the future.
Yes, definitely. And I think there are a lot of like research papers published on and target this field already. Dental is definitely a field, yes.
Yeah, we might have seen some 3D printed kind of structure for dental bone implant. Okay, yeah, this direction. Okay, are there any further questions? In that case, I see in the Q&A we have one question. Could you elaborate on the tiny percentage of failures that you briefly talked about?
So what we do, or what you have to set in place, as soon as you're selling implants to the market, you need a proper follow-up system in which you collect all the information from the market. Are there any failures? Is there something wrong with the implants or not? So you collect a lot of like actually field data. And what I can tell is from our perspective and with our experience, the technology is very safe. With all the tests we've conducted before going to the market, we had the information, or we could ensure that even before. But this is the real market feedback, and you can really see that surgeons and patients are happy with the technology. Fracture healing is ensured, and this already over a period of 10 years of follow-up, which we have since the first implants were sold on the market.
Okay, thanks. Further question on is there any further alloy development already in place, or
short answer, yes. As mentioned before, if you stop, it's over. You always have to be visionary. There are manifold indications you can use magnesium implants for, and there's not the one solution. Probably there are more solutions. And this is why we always also have some
yeah, sorry, you were frozen on my computer, so probably I have a weak internet today. We'll allow us a last question from the, I think that two questions that I would like to ask you from the chat. Is there any difference or body effects for using these magnesium screws in pediatric and adult patients?
So you can hear me again, right?
Because yes, yeah.
Just received the message. Okay. So per our studies, per our field data, and per our clinical trials, we do not see significant differences.
All right, and Rahman is still asking. He has asked about the tiny failures. So, still, what were those tiny percentage of failures?
So it's also when you receive feedback from the market, it could be that there were instrumental problems, sometimes even a screw fractured, but that is quite normal, as this also happens for titanium and steel-based implants, and those are the feedbacks you also receive from the market. And per our analysis and per also the analysis of the authorities, we could see it's not a performance problem of the product, but quite often it's due to misuse or other issues that are not directly linked to the material or the product itself. So it's quite common, and it's still a good number if you compare it to titanium and steel implants. They usually have even higher numbers.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks again. I would like at this stage to move to the third presentation, and we might have some Q&A time after that as well. So please stay on. And I would like to introduce our last and third speaker, Kilian Royce. Kilian is the co-founder and managing director of Medical Magnesium, a startup company based in Aachen. He's that for 5 years now. Before, he was an intern and research assistant in several positions, also in Aachen. Kilian has a Master of Science, Medical Engineering, Automotive and Business Administration from the University in Aachen, and also has an exchange term, Mechanical Engineering in Lausanne. He will talk about, what is the overview? He will talk about is magnesium technology revolutionizing orthopedic care. So I hand over to Kilian.
Yeah, thank you, Martin, for the warm words. I will just start into my presentation. Do you see the full screen now?
Yes, it's okay.
Okay, wonderful. So thank you very much for the invite to talk to this prestigious number of people and group of people. My name is Kilian Royce. I'm speaking for Medical Magnesium. We are a startup started in around 2015. We're located in Aachen, right out of the RWTH Aachen University, which is a very prestigious university here in Aachen. We have a background basically in material research, in production technology, and have backed up our team of around now 25 people by some biologists and scientists. We have a vision which is significantly improving surgical therapy of patients through the use of resorbable implants, and making this possible by offering high quality resorbable implant solutions for relevant problems in therapy. We are using material technology, which is a combined material alloy and a surface technology. The tensile strength that we're using is up to 350 megapascal. Compared to cortical bone, we reach around double of it. And compared to conventional titanium implants, it's around half of it. We believe it's suitable for load-bearing osteosynthesis, and it's bioresorbable depending on the volume between 1 and 3 years. We have access to a full route of machining because this is basically our engineering and material background. So we can produce whatever shape and design. I've brought some of the implants we already produced on the slide deck. And for sure, a lot of interest is also going in the accompanying instruments. Because I was the third speaker of this impressive talk, I'd like to have a bit of more general view, because I think you learned a lot from Jan and from Björn around magnesium technology in general, and thought I will bring a bit of an opinion on where magnesium technology can really be of benefit for orthopedic care. One very important aspect, this was not so highlighted in the talks before, so I brought one picture around the imaging. The imaging of implants after surgery and during surgery is a very, very important factor for successful conduction of surgeries. Magnesium has the ability to be visible around CT and X-ray technologies, thus as well as an MRI and conventional X-ray during surgery. So this makes it quite favorable, also compared against polymer solutions, which are not X-ray visible, and compared to steel implants, which can cause problems around MRI investigations. So the topic of my talk was basically, is magnesium technology revolutionizing orthopedic care? To start with, I would like to give a more general view and opinion what orthopedic care actually is. And it's by one of the common explanations. It's a branch of medicine concerned with the correction or prevention of deformities, disorders, or injuries of the skeleton and associated structures, such as tendon, muscles, I didn't add muscles and ligaments. So first of all, we have to check for orthopedic care. We can either go conservative or invasive. Conservative orthopedic care is a big share of the orthopedic care which is treated to patients. Therapy means wearing these kind of how to call them orthesis. You can wear like special shoes, you can train your muscles, your ligaments. If that doesn't help and you need invasive care, it means basically surgical care, implants come into place. And we, as the magnesium technology, is only, let's say, applicable for the invasive care. Second of all, surgical care is basically split into a replace with the using of prosthesis or repair. Magnesium technology and its ability to get bioabsorbed is basically very much limited to the repair space, where there is orthopedic care and osteotomies, just as Jan just displayed, hallux valgus correction, or toe deformity correction, or even knee angle correction. And then there's another big share of orthopedic care where you basically replace whole joints, total knee arthroplasty, total hip arthroplasty, and therefore magnesium technology can only be a very limited application around the integration of implant shafts, or around glenoid in the in shoulder surgery. But a big share of magnesium technology is for sure, just as we have seen from Jan's talk, around implants. If you look closer on the right-hand picture, you see two compression screws implanted in the patella, where there's joint fractures, basically joint surface fractures, which are re-implanted using magnesium screws. And the third, basically restriction I'd like to give, and then also try to get a bit more into the space we've just learned from Jan, is that really highly load-bearing and geriatric patients with the aim to get these patients out of bed as soon as possible, because it's very, very important for their outcome and their continuous life. We see magnesium technology not that much in femoral head fractures, in hip fractures, where there's a lot of load applied to implant systems, and most of the time there's not a really healthy bone structure with this anymore. So we rather look into extremities, we look into children's surgery, we look into indications and sites around the body where there's less stress applied. This is also due to at this technology stage at least, limited mechanical ability of the implants, but certainly there's a good share of indications, as we've just learned from Jan, where magnesium technology is a real beneficial option, and therefore a good alternative. So what are we actually comparing to for the moment in invasive care? Surgical implants are most of the time, in former times, were made from stainless steel, which is still really widely applied. Sorry, give me a second. We have stainless steel, sorry. It's very highly load bearing, but there is issues around the electric potential of especially the nickel parts in these implants. In the US market, the stainless steel plays still a very, very active role. You got polymer materials, which are often used around sports medicine. These are also combining bioresorbable options like biocomposite materials. Then you get titanium for sure. It's the basically major player around trauma implants with screws, nails, and stuff. It's basically the go-to material. And then as another material, you find a lot around prosthesis and joint surfaces. is ceramics. So this is what magnesium is basically comparing to, and is also the lists of materials where surgeons can choose from. So I thought what be very interesting for you guys to learn. Maybe I brought 3 cases where magnesium technology is really a good and favorable option around the surgical care. In the case 1 is a joint knee surgery, because you don't want to have permanent implants remain really close to joint surfaces, because you have a high risk of protrusion into joint surface, leading to imminent damage and arthrosis. Meaning, in more simple words, that the permanent implants will not stay where they used to be, or the surgeon wanted them to be, but they will like wander over time. And if they arrive at the joint space, they will basically cause tremendous damage to the cartilage structures, as we've learned from Björn. And therefore, magnesium technology and very highly, a high chance of degradation into bone is really helpful. Second, you don't have a risk of late infection at a site where you don't want to go a second time, especially if these implants are placed intramedullary and they help up to build like a very stable construct. And third of all, they can still be combined for sure with titanium implants if you have enough space, meaning like a local space between implants. So you can have a heavy fracture treated with very stable and permanent plates, and can add up with some magnesium implants around the joint surface to really build up the natural state again. The second case, I think Jan already told about it. Pediatric care is for sure one of the biggest areas for magnesium application, because you don't have permanent implants in a growing skeleton causing damage and constraints, which are therefore becoming obsolete using biodegradable metal implants. Second of all, the strong bone build reaction of young metabolism helps to match the bioabsorption patterns of magnesium technology really well. So you'll find good results. This was published in several papers that young metabolisms are very favorable for magnesium degradation. And third of all, not only the children comes to the hospital, most of the time it's indirect costs of parents off work. You got rehabilitation plans where the parents have to come as well. So we have high cost savings for the healthcare systems. And third of all, we believe that the cost savings and the application of magnesium implants, I just see there's a mistake in my slides. Sorry for this. The soft tissue reconstruction refixation of magnesium using magnesium implants is very favorable, because you don't have no risk of implant breakage. You have a high rate of bone buildup around sites where you can place another implant there. So this helps to for reconstruction or revision surgeries around sports medicine. And you can also go a bit smaller in diameters and implant volumes. This is a very favorable application also for magnesium technology. On the left-hand side, you see a suture anchor prototype. Sorry for the noise, there's some car troubles around the street here. And to end my presentation, I just want to answer the question, so is magnesium technology really revolutionizing global orthopedic care? We believe that magnesium plays a very, very active role, but if you look into the global orthopedic market numbers, this is from 2016, it was valued at 40 billion. It's rising at around 5 to 6% a year. So we believe that there's a certain share which magnesium technology has a really active role, but you look into the global market, we would state it's not a revolution, but it's a very, very strong tool in surgical orthopedic care, and therefore we'll pursue it further. And we have learned from all the impressive talks before that there's a lot of indications where magnesium technology is becoming a real active role. Well, thank you.
Thank you, Kilian. Thank you for the very nice presentation. Also for giving us a little bit the broader view as well, especially for those who are not specific busy in that field. Looking at the Q&A and chat function, I saw one from Sheng is asking about, in general, cost comparison between titanium and magnesium implants. I don't know who wants to answer that.
Yeah, I can certainly only speak for our side. We aim for like a certain premium around conventional implants for sure. It's depending on the reimbursement situation and for sure on the surgeon's hospital and financial background, let's say. Especially in Germany, at least the insurance companies play a very active role in purchasing implant, and therefore the organization of purchasing groups becomes a more and more active role. So it's very, very important to keep up a premium for innovative technology, but still you cannot charge 3 or 4 times the price most of the time. So I hope this answers the question. At least it was a very general view. Maybe Jan can add up, because they for sure have sold thousands of implants.
Yeah, but we can stick to your answer. It's the same on our end here. We're trying to make this technology available to everyone, so we're not asking for extremely high prices. Prices should be comparable to those implants that are already out there.
Yeah, so we get asked a lot of questions. So can I use a K-wire, which is basically a stainless steel wire? And this is around €1 in Germany. And we say, okay, for sure, we cannot compete with a stainless steel wire, but we can compare with very premium and high quality titanium implants for sure. The pricing as well.
Okay, so I was asked a question here in the chat. What are the basic differences between medical magnesium and Syntellix?
Yeah, differences I think are in the material route. So Syntellix, as we've learned, is working from a powder metallurgical process. We are going into casting and then forming. So we press from casted ingots, and then we apply a surface treatment. I think Jan can answer on this for his own now.
Yeah, it's as you mentioned, probably the material technology processing route is a little different, but there are also parallels. But nothing to add from my end here, because I'm not too deep into the technology of medical magnesium to make a good comparison here.
Fair enough, thank you. There are some other questions in the Q&A about CE mark. Is it received with or without clinical data? Is that a relevant question to you?
Say again, please.
A CE mark.
CE mark, yeah.
That
So
is with or without clinical data.
So we are about to enter the market, and we've learned from Syntellix and Jan's talk that Syntellix has a very active role in seeing their competition. I just can add up that we are very conservative in giving up our implants to surgeons to collect a lot of data around the performance and the safety of the products. And we do not actively seek a lot of sales at the moment, but focus on to work with clinical partners. And you will hear from us around our data and stuff through our channels and homepage. Sorry, Martin, I got to go in 2 minutes. Maybe we can have one last question.
Yeah, I have a question here on the raw material. Any advantage of using powder or extruded from a raw material or extruded bar?
Yeah, so Jan showed, I think, the cross-section of his material, which has been quite impressive. I think that I can just guess, but comes also from the powder route. We have a good experience with casting and monitoring the impurities and the levels of homogeneity around our material quite well. So I'd say both works. You can't really say one is better, at least in my opinion, but maybe other people see that differently. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. I know you have informed us that you must head on, so thank you again for presenting at our webinar. Just for your information as well, it will be broadcasted and the recording will be available on the IMA website and also on the IMA YouTube channel. Thank you very much. I think the others could stay on for another 10 minutes or so.
So thank you very much. I'll go.
Bye-bye. Thank you. There's another question in the chat about, I think we have talked about possibilities and opportunities for additive manufacturing within the complete sector.
I think some months ago there was already talk from our colleague, from Thomas Ebel. We are going in this direction by using some powder filaments and printing this and doing as final stage some sintering process to aim some small numbers of patient-specific implants. So not big numbers for low prices, more one implant with a special geometry, specially made for one. But this is, from our point of view, is a bit far from a real application up to now.
Okay, yeah, thanks for the hint. Yeah, there was one of the latest IMA webinars on 3D printing, and also you can also watch that on our website. Are there any other questions from the audience? Questions from the panelists? No.
Yeah, I mean, as Kian left already, it would have been really interesting to hear about availability of clinical data. There must be something, I believe, due to the CE mark they have, but yeah, maybe the next time he can relate on this. Okay,
so we can talk on a fire chat on the next IMA conference in Barcelona about that. Okay, very good. Any other last questions from the audience? I don't have anything here. Also from the chat. Yeah, Raman signs off. Okay, also a good hint that it's somewhere late, somewhere else.
Good night, sleep well.
Yeah. Okay, so thanks for the panelists for the excellent preparation and talk at our webinar. Thanks for the participants. As said, there will be the recording in a few days available on the website and also on the IMA YouTube channel, and we'll certainly follow up on that. We're looking forward to find somehow a home also for the medical companies in the magnesium field in the IMA. So we'll try to prove that we are of value for an international or organization to you as well. And that we see that webinar is a first step, and also the hint that there will be an international award as of next year. So I think many of these technologies, what you have presented, are very favorable for that as well. We hope for a live conference next year in Barcelona, somehow in October. So we'll be publishing that on our channels. Again, I think for the audience, the current magnesium crisis, the IMA is trying to provide accurate information, very relevant, very up-to-date information on the website. We have a president's letter going out every week. You find price charts, development, any updates on production quota, energy quota, and everything. So it's really worthwhile to log on to the IMA website. Well, thanks again for participating. I hope you learned a lot and enjoyed that. I did that certainly, and hope to see you next time. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Bye.